Well, the World Economic Forum had this famous commercial where they talked about the Great Reset, and they said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And you're seeing that happening. You're saying that we are becoming a renter nation. I say it's by design. Explain what you mean by it.
Average house prices in Dublin, €509,000. You'd need a salary of €150,000 a year in order to get a mortgage on a property like that. And your affordable housing schemes are linked to a discount on that absolutely obscene price. In my area, average house prices €700,000.
We see a lot of right-wing outlets such as Fox News and Breitbart going after the Great Reset, claiming it's ushering in socialism or communism.
The rents in this country, the average rent, as much as people complain about them, we have 12,000 units. The average rent's about $1,800. And as much as they complain about it, the mortgage on a similar home in that same neighborhood would be double that.
I was blown away to see on Fox News, Grant Cardone talking about the Great Reset and how it's happening right now. Now, just by having this video up, and the algorithm picking up the term the Great Reset, there's probably going to be some kind of context box below this, in which they will probably, here on this platform, go over to Wikipedia for you to know what the truth is about the Great Reset. Because, of course, Wikipedia is not biased and it is true information. So let's just help out and just go over directly over to Wikipedia so we can learn what the Great Reset is. And we learned that the Great Reset Initiative is an economic recovery plan drawn up by the World Economic Forum in response to the pandemic. The project was launched in June 2020 with a video featuring the then Prince of Wales Charles released to mark its launch. The initiative's stated aim is to facilitate rebuilding from the global crisis in a way that prioritizes sustainable development. Okay. The Great Reset was to be the theme of the 2021 World Economic Forum annual summit in Davos, Switzerland, scheduled for January 2021. But due to the disruption from the worldwide crisis, the summit was postponed to 2021. Except there's kind of a problem with that. I know we're supposed to just believe that that's true because it's on Wikipedia. But that would mean that this came out because of the pandemic. Because of the pandemic and the economic crisis, these world economic leaders wanted to save us and said, hey, this Great Reset is something we need to do because of the crisis of 2020. There's a small problem with that. And that is that it was actually 2016 where they published the ideals of the Great Reset and actually made a commercial about it. So whereas we're supposed to believe, according to the context box and Wikipedia, that this was in response to the crisis of 2021, is it possible that the crisis of 2020, and 2021 was part of a plan or agenda that they had that actually predates the pandemic by minimum of 4 to 5 years?
Take a look at this video published in 2016 on the World Economic Forum's Facebook page. That you'll own nothing and you will be happy. That's what they're saying.
Even though that was a commercial on their website, on Facebook, attributed to them, the World Economic Forum, put out by them, to believe otherwise is a theory of the conspiratorium. Listen to and believe Wikipedia, who tells you that this started as a response to the pandemic of 2020. So, with that out of the way, and you know that the true source that you're to believe is Wikipedia, let's go into what's happening today as discussed on Fox News and Grant Cardone, having to do with this idea of the WEF, that you will own nothing and be happy. You will be an eternal renter.
Well, real estate struggles are real. Home buyers and sellers alike feeling a massive struggle to close deals or make money. And if you need yet another sign of turmoil, 45% of U.S. real estate agents are struggling to pay rent on their offices. Here to react is private equity fund manager and real estate investor Grant Cardone.
Is it me or is it pronounced Grant Cardone? I don't know. Somebody please give us a correct pronunciation of his name down below in the comment section.
The Fed single-handedly has killed the housing market. The Fed will make more renters in this country in the next 2 years than it has in the last 50 because mortgage applications are at all-time lows. Mortgages are double what rent is today. Jerome Powell said that the middle class, everyday people would disproportionately feel the pain of higher interest rates in his attempt to control inflation. He has not controlled inflation. He has failed miserably. What he has actually done is create it and, in the meantime, stop the housing industry.
All right, Grant Cardone saying it's the Fed with the quick raising of interest rates. Now, the interest rates have risen, right? Now, we've been in situations before where the interest rate rises, but it has risen so far, so high, and so fast. I mean, literally doubling in a year. Generally, there's an easing in, there's adjustments, but they went all the way to the top. Why? To cool inflation. They did it. They raised interest rates to lower inflation. And did it work? No, it has not. It never was going to work. That's all by design. That's all on purpose. Now, you can read into it that that's the Great Reset or not, but it sure seems interesting that years ago they said this would happen, and now we're seeing it happen right before our eyes.
Well, what he should do is get out of the way. There's no time in history in my lifetime that the Fed actually controlled interest rates. Supply and demand is what controls interest rates. As long as people are spending their money, that means they want that product or service. At what point it gets to a price where I no longer find it valuable, I will no longer continue to purchase that.
By the way, let me be clear here. I am not promoting Grant Cardone or any of his products or services or his book or his seminars or his crowdfunding investment. I am endorsing the idea of free markets. Free markets where players in the market get to determine. Now, there's pure laissez-faire where let the markets decide everything. Then we have the socialists, the Marxists that want central planning to control everything. Then you've got people that believe there should be a mix of this, people who believe in Keynesian economics. Yeah, let the private sector do their thing, but government should be navigating all of this for everybody. But the bottom line is what we're seeing here is by design, they want to control everything and make renters out of you, make renters out of me. We're not going to own anything. We're just going to rent it as we need it. And we're going to be happy about it. That is not a theory. That is happening right before our eyes. And it's happening right now in America with home ownership, thanks to the Fed, Jerome Powell, and the raising of interest rates and other things that the government is screwing up.
And people want homes. People want to live in a single family home. He should step aside, get out of the way, let the market do its thing. Interest rates will have to come down. When interest rates come down, mortgage applications will go up and people will start selling their homes.
So if people can't afford to buy the homes, who's buying the homes now? Well, they are the big investment companies, BlackRock and those types of companies. Oh, interestingly enough, those are the same companies that are corporate partners of the World Economic Forum. Isn't that just a coinkydink?
Well, it means that you would own nothing. Everything would be owned by, most likely, one of the many World Economic Forum partner corporations, and you would have no privacy.
Well, the World Economic Forum had this famous commercial where they talked about the Great Reset, and they said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And you're seeing that happening. You're saying that we are becoming a renter nation. I say it's by design.
With inflation sky high and no signs of it slowing down, they might might be right. We are on our way to becoming a nation of renters. But don't worry, it's nothing to fear, just the opposite, says Bloomberg. Bloomberg, by the way, is one of the hundreds of partners with the World Economic Forum. And they list all of their partners on their website. Other partners include NBC, Google, New York Times, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Apple, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, and many, many others.
Well, these hedge funds and private equity firms are buying up property and then, making them into rentals. And we're seeing, as you said, less and less people owning their home, which always was the American dream.
Now, one way they're going to make you happy is that, first of all, you're not going to have a choice. You're not going to be able to, as we're seeing now, you're not going to be able to even afford to buy a home. Second, they make it more attractive than buying a home. For instance, in the short term, rents are cheaper than mortgages. And they make the amenities more appealing. Remember, it's not just giving you this situation where you're going to own nothing, but they also want to make you happy to do it. Or some of us would call it appeasing you, giving you a little carrot, making you feel comfortable while they stab you in the back and rob you blind of your wealth through taxation and inflation.
The rents in this country, the average rent, as much as people complain about them, we have 12,000 units. The average rent's about $1,800. And as much as they complain about it, the mortgage on a similar home in that same neighborhood would be double that. It's unaffordable for people to own a home today. And that means you will rent, you will literally own nothing and be happy about it.
Now, this is something that my rural brothers and sisters are not going to understand, but do not think ranch style home. Do not think single family home. Think of multi-unit housing. That's what they want us all in. That is why, for instance, the U.S. government and the planners of the U.S. government, and this is happening in other places as well, like in Europe and what have you, they want to make sure that there's multi-residential housing. They want to make sure there's apartment buildings and things going in places that are traditionally land, rural, and single family residents. They want a whole bunch of people living in these compact places where they can plug their cars in and go to work within 15 minutes. It seems like some kind of theory, but that is what they're planning right before our eyes right now. It's all about nice apartment living with amenities, everything close by. You don't have to drive. You don't have to own a car. Just use Turo, rent it, take public transportation, have an electric car, but you don't have to go far. Just go downstairs and your Starbucks is right there.
Now, the apartment complexes that are being built today provide such crazy great amenities that it is actually, for new generations of people, it's actually an alternative that's not economic, but actually desirable for them to actually live someplace for 10 or 24 months at a time rather than hunker down for 30 years.
Yeah.
And once again, if you're watching this from the United States, it's not just a U.S. phenomenon. It's not something just taking place in Canada. It's throughout the Western world. Young people are being conditioned to forget about the American dream, the Irish dream even, of owning a home. You will own nothing, and you will be happy about it.
So a whole future generation of young people, working people, will never be able to own their own home and will be prey to the obscene rents that are being charged of 2,000 and 2,200 euro. Never able to save, never able to aspire to own their own home. It's obscene.
It's unaffordable for people to own a home today. And that means you will rent, you will literally own nothing and be happy about it.
That they are now promising you will own nothing and you will be happy. What they should have added is, and we, the very rich, will own everything and be even happier. Of course they will.